Good morning. We're live. Hello, world. I'm speaking that into being. We are talking to the world, Wes.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, we
I'm
are
April
talking to the
Jackson
world.
with Open Up Sunday Safe Spaces and my co-host extraordinaire. Good morning, Wesley Hamilton.
Good morning. Good morning. It's an honor to get back on this call, get back on the conversations. If everyone understands that this conversation today is supposed to be structured around nurturing through trauma, we do have a guest that we will potentially be bringing on. Um, and hopefully that we can be able to shed light through their insights and provide some value. But me and April just, we're going to catch up. We're going to kind of share some things of what we've been doing, give you guys some insights on how we nurture ourselves through trauma as well. But again, just welcome in the space, welcome in everybody, and it's feel good to be here. So
Yeah, I'm excited to be here too. I am I'm drinking out of this mug, which I received as a Mother's Day gift.
mm,
uh, along with a candle and a whole bunch of other things and acts of service. Lawn was cut and mowed and mulched, and
oh,
car was washed. Wes, I have this car I supposedly can't take to the car wash, but it's really a new season of life for me personally to have been a mother of younger kids. Now they're older, now they're grown. And I was really trying to be in the present moment because, things happen quickly, life changes every day. So we're bringing in nurturing through trauma and also tying that into the nurturing spirit of motherhood.
mm,
You don't have to be a mother, you don't have to be a woman. There are different ways to nurture yourself, and there are different ways to be nurtured. And when we are working through trauma, nurturing is the one thing that really helps us navigate through. So, hence, nurturing through trauma. That's the title of today. So, Wes, what have you been up to?
yeah, it's just been a long journey for me lately, with so much happening.
That's the dog
Um,
going in and out.
but personal things for the most part, of course, I was featured back on the new season of Queer Eye. So, would love to kind of talk about that. But outside of that, you did have Mother's Day. So, I decided to go back to Kansas City to visit my mom. Her birthday is right before Mother's Day. So,
Oh, cool.
uh, yeah, there's just so much going on when it comes to my mom's expectations, but I get it. So, it was a lot going on.
I love it. You tell
It was a lot going on that full week, I say. But again, just really, I think I just been doing my own level of kind of healing again, and trying to figure out how to set the tone on what I want to do in life moving forward. Like, I know I've had so many different things happen with me, but I also feel like um it's just time to refresh and renew, kind of like how we talked, in our last conversation, about just renewal. I think I'm just still on that journey, to see where I find the most value, with the platform that I have. And um, so it's been an exciting thing, April. It's been really exciting to kind of hone in to just knowing your worth and then seeing where you want to land that.
them.
And that's kind of where I've been. It's like, yeah.
Ooh, I like that you said seeing your worth and knowing where to land that. And that's a big thing that we've been working on here with this group. We call it healing circles that I started. But value, knowing your worth, knowing your value, and you taking ownership over saying, this is what I'm valuing. This is how I'm going to trade my value. This is what I am worth. When everything around us tells us you're not worth that in our
Mm,
society, right?
absolutely.
Right. And so that's to me key. And that's key to like nurturing yourself, you know, taking care of your little self, so that in this space you can say, no, I'm worth this, I'm worth so much more. I watched Queer Eye. You, first of all, I used to watch it before you ever even on the show, and then I saw you, and then I was so excited. Actually, I have not watched the whole. I haven't binged it yet. I went straight to your episode, and so yours.
I did too. I did
You
too.
do,
So,
no shame, no shame, no harm, no foul. It was great and it was beautiful. And I'm so glad that you and what is Speedy? Does he go by Speedy?
he goes by Speedy, but his name is Ray Walker.
Ray Walker, Mr. Young Ray Walker, the young man who's, suffered some tragedy, and watch him come through this. And that's why our guest, Cecelia Ware, is here. We're on live to the world, Cecelia.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
Sorry
We'll
for
morning.
my technical difficulty.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Um, Cecelia Ware, this is Mr. Wesley Hamilton.
Hi,
Hey,
Wesley. How are
it's a
Yeah.
you? Nice
pleasure.
to meet you.
You look like you're traveling too.
I am. I'm actually on my way back home. I came to Raleigh, North Carolina.
How was it?
It was beautiful.
Wow.
I came to get some healing. So I'm suffering from my concussion.
Yeah, she had an accident. I didn't tell everybody, but
Yeah.
she had an accident and ended up having a concussion. And so, but Cecelia, do you want us to let you get settled? Or are you ready to chat?
No, I'm ready.
So we were just talking about Wesley being on the recent Queer Eye, and he was supporting a young man who was in a car accident, a tragic car accident, and lost his mother and his aunt in the car accident, and ended up with, he has a spinal cord injury.
He
Oh,
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just was just kind of shedding light on that because, of course, with this topic, nurturing through trauma, I think that it was very valuable and important that, the producers and the team behind on the back end of Queer Eye, thought to bring me back on, not just from just that male figure aspect, or even just having someone that you can visually represent, but I think it was a lot of the trauma that comes in place with not only acquiring a spinal cord injury, but also grieving and loss. And most people don't understand that. And even though I haven't dealt with the significant loss that the young man went through, but I have lost. And, when you come from a community like ours, we lose people daily. And so, um, to be able to come and just understand what loss means, what grief means, and then also allow space and room for him to know that he has time to grieve and time to heal. Because we move at a fast pace in our community. We lose people one day and then we have to kind of work the next day. And
That's a good point.
and and I think even, when you lose people and then you lose something physically, even that, we know the process of hospitalization or rehab, you're kind of 3 months in and then you're back out into the world. And, I just wanted to be able to come in and show him an example of someone that has went through the work of healing, but also acknowledges that there's still work to be done, and put that on the forefront. So yeah, so all of this kind of came full circle with this this conversation. But before we even hear from you, Miss Ware, like, the other important piece of that episode was the fact that he's a young Black man that was paralyzed through a car accident. But because he's a young Black man paralyzed through a car accident, most people only see him as a young Black man that was shot.
Mm.
And because his mom went through so much to keep him out of the streets, for him to acquire injury, and now the perception of a Black man in a wheelchair is something that he has to be challenged with every day, and have to explain to people that his path was different than most young Black men in wheelchairs. And so that also brings another layer of trauma, because you have to constantly revisit what your what you've lost, which is your mom, and have to rethink of how she tried to get you out of something that now people put you in a position, right? They put you in that place that,
Society just puts you in that box.
and they put you in a box. And so now you have those overlayer of trauma too that you got to go and try to work through, because society has now perceived you as something that you never was.
And that's what society does. And hence that's why we're here, because, you know, if he was a young white man in a wheelchair, the first assumption would not be, oh, he was shot. It was gun violence or gang violence. And that's why it's so important that you were representation, Wes, shot or not shot. You are a man who is making it and is thriving, not just surviving, thriving and making a difference. And everyone comes to this differently. We've had guests on here who've had the whole gamut of experience. And Cecelia, I wanted to share, and I shared a little bit, Cecelia, about how we met, how you came to me as a client, because I do consulting and coaching and helping entrepreneurs, executives of nonprofits move forward. And she went through a resiliency program to help move her organization forward, which she started because you are the mother of a son who's still here and has a sweet little baby grandson who was shot. So
Yes.
do you want to share your story with us?
Yes, and I'll actually start off by talking about being invited to the resiliency cohort. It was such a perfect time for me to work through that cohort, because at that time, a cousin of mine was just murdered.
I remember that. Yeah.
Really struggling with not only healing and grieving, but just doing the work that I do. So when I got connected with the cohort, it gave me a safe place to really talk about my feelings as a person, as an executive director, because we don't have those outlets. You don't have a lot of colleagues that you get to meet with regularly, to just have conversations with people that look like you know. So it was really a great experience, and I got to share in that experience and grieve, and you know, really connect with some people that I knew in the community, but we never ever got to sit around and talk. So I was grateful for that. And my story started in 2016. My son, he was finishing the 11th grade, and it was the first day of break for the summer, and he got shot, him and a little girl, on the basketball court. And it was hundreds of people out. You know, they were playing basketball, they were having coaching for football practice and cheerleader practice. So parents and kids were all out.
Yeah, just the summer stuff.
Yeah, it was daylight, you know, and it just it blew my mind actually that that time of the day kids would come to a basketball court with full guns and just start blazing bullets out. And kids, they don't have no target practice. They don't know what they're just pulling the trigger. You know,
Mm.
so it changed our whole life. It took us in a whole different trajectory. You know, I was a full-time nurse at the time, and when that happened, I had to become a full-time nurse to my son to make sure that he got the proper care, um, to navigate all the systems that he was thrown into. The school system changed. We moved from our area where we lived. Um, the hospital system. And just like you said, Wes, you know, we were treated differently because he was a gunshot victim. And they didn't know that, but they just assumed, you
Mm.
know, because he had crutches, he had went back to a different school, and he was,
Mm.
you know, struggling in that school, but he was having panic attacks because his pain was so, it was nerve pain, so it wasn't
Yeah.
controlled, you know, and they just treated him differently. And I had to go through all these hoops, you know, to even get him transportation that is
Mhm.
given to other kids with disabilities, you know, because his disability came from a gunshot, they treated us differently.
I swear I'm about to start crying here because I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it breaks my heart. And Wes, you guys were just talking about that on the live stream I was listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's sad how, everyone is treated like, you know, it was supposed to happen. Like our trajectory in life is not only that we're supposed to, be harmed in some way,
Mm-hmm.
acquire a disability, but also now the systems that surround us are supposed to keep us defeated,
Right.
you know, and it's projected in all of the systems to look down on someone that looks like us, and especially when you come in with a disability, and it's I don't know, it's definitely disheartening to kind of hear you guys' journey with that, and so I'm assuming you said 2016, so your son is how old now?
24.
Okay. So through those years, right? Like, so what was that? I know the navigation, because my mom had to navigate for me at the beginning. So I know, like, going through that navigation and of course setting up your organization and things like that. Like, what did you learn to, and words of Gandhi, be the change you wish to see?
Mm.
Good question. Yeah.
You know what, Wes? I don't want parents and children to have to go through what we went through. You know, it was such a struggle, even to get him back into physical therapy, because he went through his first round of therapy. You know, he got admitted to an inpatient facility, but it wasn't geared towards kids, it was an adult facility. So we had to literally fight tooth and nail to get him put in the Children's Institute. And, you know,
Mm,
because again, it was a gunshot. They were like, oh, well, what's going on? It just was so hard. And he didn't, thank God, have to feel any of that. You know, I took all the brunt of that, me and his dad. And luckily, I know people in places that are in medical positions. So I knew a doctor who actually called the health insurance company that we had and talked to somebody. But we were fighting tooth and nail to get him readmitted. And they were like, oh, well, he's good. You know, he went through his inpatient treatment already. No, he's not good. He can't heal because he needs wraparound service. He needed psychological help because he had
Mm-hmm.
shutting down and had this tremendous fear of the pain that he was having, and he would not push through it. So
mhm.
once we, knowing somebody, a doctor that I had worked with previously, because I said I was a nurse, he called somebody, picked up the phone, and that changed our whole life. Getting him
Mhm.
admitted into the Children's Institute, because it just made him a whole new person, and it was just so nurturing, and it was what all the kids need who have gun violence, who suffer
Yeah.
from any type of gun violence, because it's a different type of care that kids need. You know,
Yeah.
so I would definitely promote that any kid that is shot, that they would go through a Children's Institute for the
Mm.
follow
Mhm.
up care, because the care is different.
You know,
And they,
that's such a good point. I never thought of that. The mental health aspect I thought about, you know how I am about holistic
yeah,
wraparound support. You know how I feel about that, Cecilia. But recognizing that a child 16, 5, 4. We look
right,
at Uvalde, we look at all these schools, but, our brains are not formed, especially, I think, for young adults until you're 25
yeah,
or
Mhm.
so, and the care that is needed, is so important. It's that nurturing
the
aspect.
nurturing, yes, and they
Yeah.
so good to him. And they're good to all their patients. I seen them work with other kids, and that's what they need. They need that different type of care. They didn't care if he was a gunshot victim. They saw him
Yeah.
as a child. And that's what the children need who are gunshot victims. They need that special care from people who work with children. That's their specialty. From the people who clean the room to the
Yeah.
physician, psychologists, everybody involved, the nurses, that's their job to work with children. So that's so important that we advocate for our
Mm.
kids to get that type of care, because it's going to take them from 0 to 100 so much quicker in their recovery. Yes.
No, absolutely. I think about what you said, just about that nurturing aspect. And for me, I've been injured. I have my disability for 11 years now. And I just kind of started coming out to light. But about just never being diagnosed with anything outside of my injury. All I've ever been told was that I just had a spinal cord injury. Never
Mm,
was diagnosed with PTSD, never diagnosed with
mm,
depression, anxiety, any of those things. And then, of course, like with my platform, I just kind of got pushed out into with the wolves in a sense. And so I was transitioning and healing at the same time while society and all these other things were hitting me, right? The way people saw me, the lack of mental health awareness. Like I didn't understand that I was having these symptoms or what they were even called until I had a friend that to me, like they definitely have their own issues, but they have been diagnosed with all these different things. And I'm like, bro, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I didn't want to feel some type of way, but I did. One, definitely different shades of color. You know
mm,
what I mean? And for them, like just watching them like go through certain situations, even with police, and kind of getting sent to a facility. Like, hey, we're going to take care of your mental health at this moment. I'm
mm.
like, you know, none of this happened even before I became paralyzed. But the fact that I am, and I was a gunshot survivor, no one's ever came to me and just questioned or wondered or even said, hey, go to therapy, go do this instead. And so many Black men and women that have been shot and victims of gun violence that wants to be survivors, but what they become victim is the system after that, the system
Mm,
that don't serve. I'm a single father. I've never had no one tell me that I dealt with trauma mentally, right? So I'm raising my daughter while I'm trying to re
Heal.
bring myself to something, and we never had counseling. She never had counseling. Like I had to just now, she's 13, where we're starting to talk, and I'm like, how did my injury actually affect you? Because I've been injured since you was 2.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? Like I have to come and be the therapist now with my child to see like, okay, is these some of the things that, because of course I want you to see me as Superman, but when you go in society and I'm being judged by your peers because they don't understand me, how does that make you feel?
Right.
Right? Like, and so again, like I appreciate you sharing that because, once, say if your son was, what they say, identified as an adult and gave him the adult services, he would have never got the actual treatment that would make him feel whole again. Like I know that I went through my own healing and it got me to the place I am, but there are so many people that are defeated by the circumstances because they never get the right care. They don't get put to mental health facilities to get treatment. Like I don't like the 4th of July, and I say it all the time, but nobody ever questioned it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I used to love the 4th before I got shot. But now
Yeah.
there's certain things about loud noises I'm not a fan of, right?
Yes.
But I'll go get invited to a fireworks, event, right? And I'm like, yeah, this ain't for me. So again, I appreciate you sharing that and allowing me to even add that layer of adulthood into this conversation, because I'm learning now just by speaking about the lack of being diagnosed to these things or making me go seek the right proper help and assistance, and so that I can make sure that I'm fully healed, right? Like, because if I'm never taking care of this, because they never made it a issue, the only thing I thought I had to take care of was the spinal cord injury. But
But the health, yeah, the body stuff. Um, Cecilia, one, before we move on, viewers, Wes has shared this on his other platforms, and we have it on, I believe we have it on our YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. It's live. But viewers watching Wes's Queer Eye episode said it was inspiring and they're commenting on the strength and the mindset stuff that you talked about and shared. So kudos to you, Wes.
Well, thank you.
Um, Cecelia, you, first of all, for me, like as a mother, you talk about as a mother how you stood in the gap and you advocated. And you mentioned, his father did too. So he had that family support, and it's Mother's Day. So we're really, talking about mothering through all of this. And it's amazing to me that when people look at random shooting in a playground where kids are trying to get ready for the summer, you have two victims. And you didn't just shoot two people, like you affected
Mm-hmm.
families, you
Yeah.
affected communities.
Mm.
So what inspired you to transition into what you do? Can you share about your organization?
Yes. So actually, what inspired me was, like I said, I didn't want other people to go through what they went through, what we went through. And another thing is his incident, it stemmed from him battle rapping on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Yes, they were battle rapping. And it just came outside to the park, right?
Mm.
Guns. And I wanted to teach kids about, how to just stop being violent and how to communicate and how to resolve conflict before it gets to a point where you feel like you got to bring a gun to a playground, right? And give kids a place to learn how to speak to one another and come up with their own resolutions with some support. So that's how I developed my organization. It was a part of me that I needed to have some coping going on in my life, and I didn't know what else to do because my whole life revolved around literally taking my son from one appointment to another appointment, and then when I wasn't taking him, I was making appointments and
Mm.
work. So I had no mental space to do anything else. It was just all about him. And I'm like, okay, so this is, what can I do to help relieve this just constant circle and cycle that I'm in? And I just started doing some research. I found a grant, a mini grant, and I said, oh, I'm going to stop the violence. And then it just it turned into an organization. So it's called Infinite Lifestyle Solutions. I built a curriculum called Saving Our Sons and Daughters program. And the kids work through the curriculum. It's a restorative program. So they sit in restorative circles, and it grew from the circles into healing with yoga, meditation, and art. So it literally grew out of a church that a pastor wanted to connect with kids in the community, and I was like, hey, I got a program, let's do it. And we started in a church right next door to a school, which was perfect. And we've been working across Allegheny County since literally 2017. We started the work in that summer 2017. Yeah.
In Allegheny County, it's for like West. So I don't know, Kansas City is. You know how you have different counties. Like you're in LA, so Los Angeles County is like a huge county, but there's LA in it. There's North Hollywood in it. They're different cities. So Allegheny County encompasses Pittsburgh and all the different townships and boroughs. So
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty expansive. And your story of resiliency is beautiful. I know your son's story is his to tell, but where are you both now in this, healing process?
So now for me, the work that I do is healing for me. It really is. Sometimes it gets to be not the work, but there's still gun violence, and that still bothers me. So sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough.
Hmm.
you know, then I get, God will send me these little nuggets, and then it'll be like, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And then I'll have this revelation, and, you know, something good will happen. Some kids will get fed that weren't having food, and our program provided that space for them to get food. And for my son, he still struggles, you know, with his injuries. With his injuries, he's going to have lifelong healing with that. And his mental health, sometimes he's up, sometimes he's down. So he doesn't want to stay in therapy, you know, and I am really trying to encourage him to get back into therapy, you know, find it to be a part of your lifestyle. And that's how I am surviving, because it is part of my lifestyle. You know, I've embraced healing.
Mm.
Uh,
I
just
like
like
that.
me coming here, it was a friend, you know, like, come down here, I'll take care of you, I'll take care of you. And just to hear somebody say those words to me, because I've been struggling like with this concussion, and it really set me back. Um, I can't sleep because of the pain from my head injury. And when you can't sleep, you know, everything else, you know, suffers.
Yeah,
But my responsibilities don't stop. So
right.
it's like, oh my God, how can I, you know, push through this? And last night I was telling my friend that was the first night I woke up and did not have pain through the night.
Oh, that's good.
I was like, thank God. I woke up this morning, was like, oh my God, I mean, I slept the whole night. I didn't reach for pain medicine, and
Right.
you know, it was so good. And yesterday I went to a yoga class that was restorative with sound healing, and it was the best thing. And I seek out those things to help me
Mm,
get through life. You know, it's not, I don't want to operate in crisis mode. I want
Mm.
it to be a part of my lifestyle, you know, that I'm constantly feeding myself opportunities to have quiet time, space for my mind, my body to rest, you know, my nervous system to settle. And even just getting a nice bath with candles, you know, or just saying some prayers and affirmations.
You don't speak my language. I'm gonna go take a bath right now. Light my candle.
Right, and light a candle in an instant. So I made sure that I take that wherever I go. And it helps me so much. And I want my son and I want the kids that I work with to understand that, yes, you take this wherever you go, wherever you are, make it a part of your life. And you'll be okay. You know, you'll be okay. You will.
It's
and
beautiful.
you know, I appreciate you sharing that, especially for someone like me that's went through something traumatic and just finding that healing isn't something that you just do one time. It's a constant
Mm.
journey.
Yeah.
Like you said, like embrace healing the same way people should embrace life. You should embrace the things that help you fix yourself through life as well. And so just speaking of like those moments of solitude and finding those times where you can start to reflect, reset. Um, I just started I took a wheel throw class like in a pot LA. That's what April was telling me about. But I took like a 4-week course and I'm still taking it. And my whole goal with that was let me do something that actually is more focused of the mind, and concentration, but also allowing me a level of healing because I'm geared to something different, right? Like I'm creating something different through my pain, and I'm creating something different through, the experiences that my body is feeling. And I would have never thought I'd be going there and doing it, but of course, thanks to April, we ended up doing something together here
Good.
in LA, and I think it planted the seed for me. And I just really wanted to go back. And my point being is that, if anyone is trying to find healing or trying to find other ways that they can explore healing, is literally finding things that, can put you in a place of solitude and peace. Like, rather it's going, I was just telling a friend, like going out to nature and reading a book, or maybe you just go out to nature and you listen to sounds. And when you find those sounds, and if those sounds give you peace, you can always go back outside and find those sounds when you're going through something chaotic, or something like that, because that's where it is, right? Like that's where those moments of healing, and then breath work, literally taking time to breathe and put that oxygen back into you. I've been doing my own like breath work with an instructor like every Wednesday. So I've kind of been learning that too. And again, these are
You
things
should do some yoga with me, US.
and these are things that necessarily wasn't provided to me as options, right? And especially being a Black man, there's just certain lanes that people don't even suggest sometimes, but I'm finding myself going and being attracted to them because I'm embracing healing. So when you embrace healing, you go where you start to follow things that maybe you didn't even think was for you, and you find your place within them because you're trying to do the work that everyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I quoted Embrace Healing because when you said that, Cecelia, that like I might have to put that in our newsletter. So, for everyone, we do have a newsletter that we send out from our safe spaces. So if you want to be in the newsletter, drop your well, I don't know if you want to put your email in the chat, but get with us, April at open-up.org, and we can send you that newsletter. You also said something, Cecelia, which was, I think, so poignant when you said, I try not to operate out of crises. Is that what we heard you say?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
beautiful.
Because, my son does a lot, and it kind of, it saddens me because the work that I do, and I'm like, I want you to be in a really good place. I want you to slow down and take care of yourself and not operate in crisis mode. And then that's when everything is so heightened and he thinks he
Yeah,
has to just get everything done at that time. But I'm trying to tell him, I want you to come along with me and learn how to manage your stress over your lifetime, because we're always going to have stress. It's just learning how to manage it, right? There's always going to be some type of trauma that happens in the world, and
right.
how it impacts you is based on how you learn how to manage your stress,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then learning coping skills and using them, not just learning them, it's using them,
That's a
right?
good point.
Yes, because we've learned, I've learned a lot of things, and I've been doing work in the community since I was in my early 20s. I was teaching Tai Chi and yoga way before people in my home even was like, "What are you doing?" They were like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Because it feels good." Right?
I like it in my body.
Right. So I was always seeking out that peace of mind, and the peace that it gave my spirit, my soul, and my body. It just felt good. And I wanted to not just have it for me, I wanted to give it to other people. So that's why I became a teacher in those areas. And I did it for free. Like, I looked for free spaces to give it to people that I knew would not be able to afford a yoga class or not have the funds.
Right.
So I always wanted people to have a place to go to heal and feel good and learn something that's going to bring them peace and harmony in their life.
Hey, I have a question for you. There's two things I'm thinking of. One, because we're talking about nurturing and that motherhood energy. And before you came on, I was sharing with Wes that motherhood doesn't mean that you have to be a mother. You can be an aunt, you can be an uncle, you can be a friend, you can be whatever. But, mothering someone is real important, especially in going through crises. And how did your way of mothering change from pre-gunshot wound to post-gunshot wound?
Mm, that's a good question, April. One of the things I could tell you is restorative practice in my life, because learning that language I didn't grow up in a restorative home. It was very punitive.
Mm,
Mom was the one to get the whip. You
mhm.
know, so all of my siblings, we all grew up like that. That's all we knew, and it was pushed on to me as a parent to put the whip to my children. So my oldest son, I was that type of parent. I was punitive in that way where I thought that I had to give him a lash to make him listen, or have him be in control, or and it's all about that control thing.
Yeah,
And that is systemic from our you know history of racism and being brought here as slaves, to being in
right.
control, being whipped, and all that. So once I learned restorative practices, it changed my whole life as being nurturing and being a mother. And it
Mm,
doesn't just have to be a mother, like you said, to be restorative, because you think different, you talk different, and you teach the people around you that they're going to be different, and they're going to receive different things from you, because you're going to work with them. You're not going to do things to them or
mm.
for them. You're going to do it with them.
Ooh, that's
And
wonderful.
it is so awesome, and the kids learn it, and they learn how to be different with each other. Our whole organization is a restorative organization, and it is just a beautiful thing. We do restorative parenting workshops to help parents learn the language and not be punitive, and help them learn how to resolve conflict in their homes and with the parent-child struggle that they have. You know, so anyone can be a restorative person. It's just learning. It's just learning how to be different, and then it's nurturing as well. So it could be
Beautiful.
anyone.
That's beautiful. 'Cause that's enculturated. When, you said it so eloquently and just laid it out. We grew up in punitive households, and we were yelled at, we were spanked, and it
Yeah.
was for our protection because going back to what we started, it's like we know that we're all going to be viewed differently as Black men and Black women and Black
Yeah.
children, and you are not afforded um, the safe space that other people are afforded. So let me be hard on you. And you
Mm-hmm.
know what it looks like to be hard, and it hurts. We internalize that, and it hurts us.
Yes.
I love the grace that you gave, and that's interesting how, like you said, that changed your parenting and your motherhood from that punitive to restorative care.
It did. So right now with my second son, Kateen got the first one. He got some of it, as he was a teenager. But Samir, he was probably 6, or around that age when I started being restorative. And you can just see the difference. Like, we have so much more communication that's open between me and him, and we're able to have conversations about things. We talk about everything. We talk about everything, and I want to know how he feels about things, and that wasn't before.
Mm,
When I was raising Kateem, before I did restorative, I didn't care how he felt. It was like,
mm,
no, you're going to listen. That's it. I didn't want to know how he felt about anything. I just wanted you to behave and listen to me and sit down or do whatever it is that I needed you to do. This,
Cecelia, you said a word. That was what we were taught, how to parent.
that's how I was raised, how to parent. I didn't know any better, and since I learned restorative practices, I teach everybody. I'll be like, you need to know this. Like, it is so important to have a better relationship with your child, so that we can break that system.
Yeah.
We don't have to be punitive to our kids. Not
Mm.
at all. Not at all.
Thank you for sharing that. It's so beautiful. Listen, we appreciate you being in the airport too. We
Oh
like to
my God.
travel. We're always traveling. We've had a few of the right, Wes. How many times have you been in the airport and we've had to talk?
All the
I
time, all
tried
the
to get
time.
somewhere where it was quiet. I done went through one terminal to another. I was early, and then I'm like, this is it. I was like, I
No, we
can't.
appreciate it. We appreciate it.
I
we have a few more minutes, and Wes, I know you unmuted. I was gonna. Do you have a question? And I was gonna go into our
Nope, nope. Let's go flow with it.
cool. So, Cecelia, we love to hear what people are listening to. It's podcasts, music, reading, what practices. Because what you've shared is really, gosh, it's such a foundation for what we believe. The healing comes in restoration. So, are there any books you're reading? Any podcasts you're listening to? Any music that's happening for you that you want to share with everyone?
Yes. So actually, I do have a book that I'm reading. I have it right here. It is Energy Healing. Put it up here.
Oh, Energy Healing. Who's that by?
Yes, it is by Karen Frazier. It's the little book of energy healing. So it gives you all these different techniques to try for different things that you're going through. And another thing that I'm doing, I'm working with crystals. So I like to bring crystals into my home now and my workspace and keep them around me at all times. I am also going into the sound healing
Mhm.
because this accident, I've been having really, it's feeling like my body's nervous system is just in that fight or flight mode, and I can't break it at times, with my deep breathing and different things. So, what I've been researching is different ways to settle your nervous system, and I've noticed that humming was one of the
Mhm.
things that helped me break
Mhm.
that constant nervous system fight or flight mode that I'm feeling. So I'm seeking out different therapeutic ways to work with sound healing.
Love that. Oh,
I think that is what helped me to sleep last night because I went to that class and had that sound healing class, and it was just a restorative yoga and sound healing together. So we just did a few poses, and they had the sound healing going, the gongs, and like, oh my god, it was just beautiful. And I was so glad that I found it. I didn't have to travel far for it. It was just
yes.
from where I was staying.
Hmm.
And like my friend took care of me. I didn't have to drive anywhere. It was just come take care of yourself. Let me help take.
Yeah.
So I really needed that. I got to just sit on a bench, look out the window, out the kitchen, and just have my tea, read my book, listen to my mantras, and yeah, wrap myself in a hug. It's just like, oh God, thank you. I needed this so much.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. I love, yes.
Hmm.
I'm going to share that book with our audience. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I will share and then bounce it to you, Wes. There is, Janae Aiko has a lot of sound healing songs. She does the bowls. And I went to sleep the other night, and I'll have to share it with you guys. Alive and Well Gratitude Mantra, and it's like a 10-minute mantra. And her voice is so beautiful. And so I was
That's
listening.
what I've been listening to, April. I
Really?
just found it. It just popped up on my. I
Like
am alive.
mine.
Well.
Yes.
I was like listening to that all week, and I was like, God, you knew I needed that because it
Oh, all right. I'm missing out. I'm missing
I'm
out.
gonna share it with you guys. I'm gonna drop it in. It is beautiful. It's
is
beautiful.
beautiful,
And it is
beautiful.
sound healing.
Yes.
And then this book, I think I shared it last time though, Wes, the Open Air Life. Did I share that when we had Marcus on? A friend gave me this book, The Open Air Life.
Ooh.
And it talks about like the Swedish Norwegian lifestyle, the Swedish lifestyle of living outdoors, and it's a lifestyle, just a way of being, but it talks about the healing aspects of being outdoors, and it's so simple and basic and wonderful. So a friend gave me this for as a Christmas gift, and I try sometimes if I'm on a roll read like 10 pages a morning. If I could just wake up and read. I've been doing that, but yeah, I guess those are the kind of the two things. And I've been studying some other stuff on yoga trauma because you guys know I teach yoga, and so I always want to be sure I stay up with that. So, Wes, what are you reading and listening to and doing?
No, this is a love this conversation. I'm learning so much, but I definitely feel like I've been practicing certain things. I did like my first sound bow session maybe I'll say less than a month ago.
Ooh.
And so that was pretty awesome. So definitely know that like and before that I was already exploring like different playlists on like Spotify and stuff that had sounds and frequencies, and I would normally try to listen to them when I'm in the shower. So
Good
just a
idea.
way to just create that calming session. But other than that, I think I've been trying to learn just more like the holistic things. I haven't really read a lot. I'm kind of writing. One, I'm working on like my own book, and then I'm also kind of working on like a gratitude journal. And so I've just been focusing more on that instead of trying to take pieces from things that I'm consuming. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, I think a lot of it is just kind of for me right now, and it's just a lot of figuring out what is important for me to move forward, and so what practices that I want to do, how to, doing I think I'm learning like more about metaphysics as well,
Hmm.
and just trying to dig in and hone into like your inner self. And
Mhm.
so sometimes like, yeah. So a lot of my practices has been reading my own self, if people
Ooh,
can understand that. And so
I like that.
um and that's kind of where I've been. It's just, yeah, I'm always a person that speaks about being free. And, after so long of, as you spoke about, Cecilia, it's like about the generational trauma and things. And I share like when I went through my sound bowl like experience, the whole goal was like, I don't really know where I come from, and I don't really know my ancestors. And I'm like, as I'm developing and doing things, I needed to kind of go through this experience. And we went through this whole experience. And, honestly, like it was so enlightening and so like eye-opening and refreshing. And so again, like I'm just exploring a lot of holistic things right now outside of just reading. And I'm challenged by reading right now too. It's because some things can grasp me in such a powerful way. And I use powerful references when it comes to books all the time. But now I'm like stuck in between people not understanding my own personal experiences. And when I read these books, they actually don't align with me,
Right.
and the struggles that they share aren't anything near to the struggles we endure daily. And so when I'm reading these books, I'm like, but what if you were black? And unfortunately, that put me in a place to, like you spoke about earlier, Cecilia, it's like I have to go out and do more, because there are so many people that don't have that knowledge to consume what I'm reading in a book because they haven't went through the first stages of healing because they're defeated by society's thoughts and perceptions. So I think for me right now, April, I'm just not trying to listen to anything that don't truly align and serve me.
Yeah, yeah, listening to your own voice, setting our own path. And that's, gosh, that's why we do this work. Because I know my oldest son is bringing me all these books that he's been reading, and I appreciate some of them, but I say to him, like, that wasn't a black man who wrote that. Or,
Hmm.
and there's just something to be said for telling your story. So I think you writing your own, Cecilia, you sharing your story and you starting your own is so important for us because we
Yeah.
need a reflection of that. You two aren't the only two who have gone through what you've gone through.
Hmm.
And just like we'll roll it back to that Queer Eye episode, Wesley, that young man went through tragedy, has an injury, and he can see, oh, he's made it through, and then he can be there for someone else. And like there's so much life. And Cecilia, you can share, I've made it through
Yeah.
and my family has made it through, and I can share it with you. And one thing, this is funny, Wes, we'll get in on this. Cecilia knows I get on her all the time. um, I hired Cecilia as a facilitator for our affinity circle sessions because of her, where she comes from, what she believes. But take care of ourselves, right? Cecilia said she will. That woman be bringing groceries, checks, will drive, and I'm like, as that is beautiful, but we have to give you value too, and we can't give out of an empty container. And the
Right.
work is important to do. And for those that have, we give and we recycle through. But if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't continue to do the work. And that's why we're here. So thank you for joining us, Cecelia.
Absolutely.
I wanted to share one more thing too.
Please.
Another part of my healing is writing. So, like Wes, I'm working on a book. It's being edited. It's in the second round of editing. It's called No Common Soul. So it'll be coming soon. It's a book of poetry where it has a lot of my life experiences, throughout the poem. Just about gun violence, being a single woman, um, being a mother, and working in the community. So I have a whole lot of different poems and pieces in that book. It'll be very inspiring, and I like to share my writing with other people. It gives me an opportunity to tap into that space of creativity in my soul, where I can share something from me to them to help them heal. So I really enjoy writing too.
April, do you remember? It was probably a long time ago. Went through some episodes, but I just remember, write your pain down,
Yes.
get it out, write it
Yeah.
down,
Yes.
and allow yourself space to heal. And that's just what I just heard from you. It's like, yes, write it down, because it's the story you're sharing when you write it, but you're also releasing it out of you.
Absolutely.
And I love that. I love
Thank you. I just wrote it down. And Cecelia, you are a beautiful poetess, and I'm going to hold you to the fire. I've already once asked you for a poem, so I'm going to ask you to share a poem that we could put in our newsletter next week and share with everyone.
Absolutely.
Write your pain down. Well, you guys, everyone, you heard it. Embrace healing. Try not to operate out of crises mode. Be restorative, 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 not punitive to yourself or
Yes.
to others. There's a space for accountability. There's a space to create boundaries, and we can do it with grace and compassion and love. Cecelia, thank you for joining us on your travels.
Thank you.
Wes, cheers. I'm glad you settled back from your travels. And until next month on Sunday Safe Spaces, where it's going to be June. It'll be, I think, after Father's Day. So Wes will get to celebrate you. You celebrated us mamas today.
And we get to celebrate, and acknowledge Juneteenth, right?
People!
you know I was coming for it, right? Like, I was coming like June. Hey, another good day around June,
Like, if we have it on Juneteenth, we should wear like our t-shirts. out. It's June 18th. It's the day before. It's the third Sunday. Yes. So, all right, everyone. Thank you.